Shut up and sit down.
Welcome once again to the Shite Talks Podcast Show. Mark Kearns and Ken Riley.
What's the crack?
Episode 151 of the Shite Talks Podcast Show.
151.
We're over the hump of 150 and we're on to maybe getting closer now to, I guess, 200. 49 more episodes left to go after this one.
Jesus, correct maths.
I know, I'm getting better. Yeah. I wrote that one down. And do you know what? I was looking at kind of the stories today and other little stories that I heard throughout the week, and it's just a mad time to be alive. It really is insane. It seems normal to us now, but when you're thinking about look back of, we had flying ants that were so large that people in the UK Met Office thought that it was a rain cloud flying into Ireland. We have a hip-hop rapper running for the President of America. The plague has been confirmed in a part of America. As well as that, we have this like coronavirus.
Well, the plague never really went away.
Yeah, well, it was the first time in I think 9 years or 5 years.
Yeah, first time in 5 years. Like that's a very short period of time. Yeah,
it was still fucking odd. You wouldn't think about, the plague's back. You don't think, there's another seasonal outbreak of the plague happened this year, and we are on that again.
When you think of the vast size of America, though, it's only natural that it's going to be plague.
Not really. You also think it's a Western world, a modern kind of healthcare system.
It comes from wild rodents. So think of how many rats and fucking shit are in America.
Yeah, you imagine
I'm surprised
that it was so fast that it would be kind of a little bit more spread out.
I'm more surprised that there hasn't been plague in America in 5 years.
Well, it's a modern Western country that has modern healthcare system, has vaccines, has all animals are tested for these things, has there's strategies in place to these ancient diseases don't generally come back as prominent as they used to be. And I think, it's kind of surprising. It just seems like we're getting so used to the bizarre happening. We're kind of it just seems normal at this stage. Anything weird, but when you think about it over the last 10 years, where there hadn't really been anything, and now we're just this year alone, between Leeds United being promoted into the Premiership and the plague coming back into America, it just seems quite odd. When I heard about the flying ants and the fact that obviously everything else going on, I was like, we have to start repealing some of these changes. We've already obviously pissed off the gods. We have to start a second back. Surely we've done something to piss somebody off. Let's take it back and look at ourselves.
It'd be grand.
Right. Oh, it wasn't locusts now, in fairness. God is more of the locust type. I think flying ants is more of just a mating thing.
A mating thing?
Oh yeah, I was listening to some insect expert talk about. I go down a lot of these rabbit holes quite easily.
I've noticed.
And it's something to do with when it's really humid at this time of the year, all the queen bees fly off to kind of spread their seed and mate and colonize new colonies. Obviously, a perfect storm kind of happened and they travelled. Plus, it's a numbers game because insects get eaten by birds and other things like that. So they generally fly in big groups. So make sure as many of them get it as possible to these new colonies as possible. So that's what you're seeing. It's kind of slightly interesting.
Moderately
interesting. It didn't make the show. Well, it kind of did now, but I just thought my God, it is such a weird time to be alive right now. It's absolutely insane, and it's kind of reflected in our stories this week. So Oh yeah, and we also have a new constellation star, which we'll be talking about in a bit. And I think that's one of the first stories we are talking about. So if you're into astronomy, we'll be talking about our new star sign and what it means for us, as well as how pissed off it has been for all the astronomy fans out there. Ken, you have all I have on the notes is a dildo story. So nothing's changed with Ken. Same old Ken. Dildo story. We'll also be talking about the aforementioned Kanye West run for the president of America. And we have a story about very embarrassing incidents that happened to the people. And this all came off the back of a story about a girl who ordered something off Amazon and was left a bit red-faced when the postman delivered it to her. So we also have, as well as this, we also have a story about a guy who tried to fill up his Tesla with petrol, and Boris Johnson and a fox and a semi-sexual way is...
Boris Johnson and a fox.
And him describing a semi-sexual way. So, like, all that is ahead of us on the show. We have a jam-packed show, like, today. It's full of weird and interesting stories.
Full of weird and wonderful things.
I think we outdid ourselves today, personally, this week. It's probably going to flop on its face now. Now that I've complimented us before the show, we're just going to make balls of it, and people are going to be like, oh, these guys are idiots.
What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, so I guess this is a story that I think, we'll start off anyway. This is a story that both of us had, and it's one that I shared to the Shite Talk Podcast Show's Facebook page, at Shite Talk Show, if you want to find us on Facebook. And it's basically, NASA recently recognized or discovered a 13th star constellation, shifting the order of all the previous 12s. So every month there would be different zodiac symbol for each month. NASA said since the Earth's axis have actually shifted slightly, that's the North Pole, it means that they've had to recently change, basically recognize this brand new constellation. You've kind of looked into this yourself, haven't you?
Well, you looked into it too. We kind of looked into opposite ends of it.
Okay, so you go off first with your kind of your explanation, and I'll come up with mine.
So, NASA released a statement on, was it their Twitter account or something?
Yeah,
and it said that every few years this thing about star signs changing comes up. It's not a new thing. It comes up every now and then. And there are 13 zodiac signs because the sun goes through 13 constellations a year. But NASA just published a list of if astrology was to use the 13 zodiacs, where your star sign would be. But NASA don't give a shit because they study astronomy. So they don't really care. But they're just saying the Babylonians discovered 13 zodiac signs or constellations. But they used the moon rather than the sun for their calendar. So they had 12 months in their calendar. So they just decided, let's fuck the 13th one. We don't need it. And they only went with 12. And that's where it comes from.
Yeah, when I was reading up about this was that the skies had actually changed. And this, obviously, like you said, it was a cycle. And it meant that, I think, the Ophiuchus, as they named it, the 13th constellation, was I think out longer than it normally was. So it should have been, I think it's out around for about 18 days of the year is this brand new constellation. And basically, because it's, I think, a slightly longer, I think NASA was kind of like, oh, well, you basically have to kind of recognize this. And like you said, astrologists has explained this slightly differently. So they're now have to kind of backtracking about this astronomy. So they did recognize that obviously these guys, the people who were discovered as zodiac symbols, did actually recognize it's 13, but didn't really fit in with their calendar. So they said, fuck it, we'll just distribute them evenly for the 12 months, the 12 moon cycles. And basically, they kind of described this as it's due to the equinox. The constellations have shifted, and has caused the Earth to wobble on its axis to create an impression that they have moved, but they haven't actually moved. And they also said the shift is due to the great age, and this happens about 2,500 years, hence the move from Pisces to the age of the Aquarius. So all hail our new Aquarius overlords, I guess. So that was the astrologist's explanation to what actually happened. Basically, it's the Earth wobbling, not actually any of the star signs changing. Now, I was talking to a few people who are a little bit more into astronomy than I was, and there was kind of debate whether astronomers would actually recognize this new constellation or not. And it kind of seems like they are taking it on board now, even though it's kind of pissed off a great wider range of astronomy fans, because people are very dedicated, as we'll talk about in a bit. And I think what I found with NASA said was basically about the North Pole shifting, and this happens for 18 days. So the new order is for basically the zodiac symbol, as NASA kind of put it. And I think this was like NASA throwing a bit of shade on astronomy fans, like it's like kind of like, oh, we're going to throw out this piece of information, and because like one thing astrologists probably hate is being mixed up with astronomy hate is being mixed up with astrologists. Because obviously for non-scientific people, as I fucking it's purely shown there in that explanation, it is very easy when you're non-scientific mind to mix up astrology and astronomy. Obviously one is based off science and the other is based off kind of symbols and mythology, as well as kind of some philosophy. But interestingly, it was actually kind of at one stage, basically they were two sides of one coin. Like the first astronomers were astrologists. So I thought that anyway. So Capricorns, for people who are Capricorn, that's now from Jan 20th to Feb 16th. Aquarius, which are our new overlords, they're from Feb 16th to March 11th. Pisces is from March 11th to April 18th. Aries is from April 18th to May 13th. Taurus is from May 13th to June 21st. Gemini is June 21st to July 20th. Cancer is July 20th to August 10th. Leo, August 10th. Oh, there's so many of them. September 16th. Virgo is from September 16th to October 13th. Libra is from October 30th to November 23rd. Scorpio is from November 23rd to November 29th. And Ophiuchus is November 29th to December. And then the Sagittarius is now 17th of December to the 20th of Jan. Jesus Christ. So what star sign were you and are you now? Or do you know?
I was a Pisces, and I'm still going to be a Pisces.
Oh, yours don't actually. I was.
No, mine did change. I'm just ignoring it.
Oh, right. So, so you are. What's your birthday then?
22nd Feb.
22nd of Feb. All right. So I'm going to recognize you as you be Aquarius. You're now Aquarius. Live with it. It's the age of Aquarius, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the age of Ken, basically.
There you go.
The age of Ken. That. Yeah, I was a Sagittarius and now I'm a Scorpio. I was, because it was close enough to my birthday, was this official. I was so ready to be officious. I'm all about the snake life here. Like, come on. So actually, I think there was a kind of a people who are into astronomy. Ophiuchus shares similar characteristics of Sagittarius. The people with the sign are described as healers and light bearers. It does not describe me perfectly. Healer and a light bearer. No. Okay.
You're more likely to injure somebody than heal someone.
Yeah. That's very that's more it. Anyway, why we were talking about this is a girl called Lauren Sanford. She's 24 and she's from Wharton, Essex, and she basically, her birthday is on the 4th of August, meaning that her new sign is now Cancer and not a Leo. And that's a bit of a problem for her because she's kind of all about the Leo lifestyle. she's kind
What's
of
the Leo lifestyle?
well, she kind of sees herself as very much a Leo, and her whole personality traits is built around her identity as a Leo. So much so, she paid £170 for a tattoo, which she designed herself, and spent 3 hours getting it tattooed. Now, it was actually, for the amount of work that she got done, was fair play to the tattoo artist. The photo of it is up on the Shite Talk Facebook page, so you can have a look there. But yeah, it takes up a good chunk of her right leg. And basically it is of a lion, and it's meant to symbolize her being a Leo. So she has a permanent tattoo now of a lion that's meant to represent a Leo, even though she's now, in fact, a Cancer.
Yeah, but like, who cares?
Maybe she could get it tattooed over with a cancer cell. I don't necessarily think that's the symbol for the cancer. For
it's a crab.
Astrology is a crab. I'm surprised you know that.
Yeah, my sister's a Cancer.
Oh, right. Well, not anymore.
No, still is. I'm not acknowledging this 13th one.
Well, the astronomers are now recognizing it, so I think...
Don't care.
Yeah.
That's not what I am.
So, as you imagine, she's not happy about NASA's new findings, and she kind of finds it a little bit hard to believe, saying that she's definitely a Leo. She's a very creative person and warm-hearted. She also loves to travel. So I love how, like, this is her, basically, her description of why she's a Leo, is, like, she says she loves to travel and she spends a lot of time with her friends. Her biggest dislikes, Ken, are being ignored or not treated like a human being.
Oh, wow.
So that's why she's a Leo. This kind of, like, her describing that, it kind of just makes her sound like a regular human being who likes going on her holidays and spending time with her friends and doesn't like being, like, treated badly. Like, this she's just basically a standard human. And how she knows she's definitely not a Cancer is she hates being at water or near water. She says she couldn't even relax if she's around water. She probably could learn how to swim. And she hates eating in front of people. And that's why she's definitely not a Cancer.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's just like your fear of eating in front of people doesn't make you any less of when you were born, though. But like, it kind of is funny that like people have really built their whole kind of belief system around star signs. I know people, like a good chunk of my family, are really into star signs, and even makes opinions about people saying like, oh, they're very much whatever, and like saying, oh, we wouldn't get on because we're that star sign, which I think is like very, very, very odd. And these are adults that I know. These are. Were you ever into star signs? Do you ever put much weight into them?
No, not really.
No, I kind of like, I just kind of knew like the article that I read 2 articles on this, and one of them basically said, even though like this isn't a science and scientists has debunked it, saying they basically give very, very vague descriptions of everything. They don't really predict anything.
Yeah, like if you read your horoscope, you're kind of like, what the fuck? If you read your horoscope from last week, you're like, oh yeah.
But like, I have an auntie who used to write these for a newspaper. She used to write horoscopes herself, and she used to make them up. She said like they just have basically someone in the office who would write up horoscopes for whatever it was.
Yeah, that's what, like, they just make up shite, like.
Yeah, they just make it like kind of vague shite, and she believes it, even though she used to write them herself. So like I don't know, I think people probably know that it's kind of like bullshit. It's just based off, like, it isn't based off science or anything like that.
Yeah,
but like it obviously gives them some form of comfort in the fact that like they get something out of it, obviously what it is.
Like, were you ever into them, seeing as like a good portion of your family are?
No, I see my family. Like, I have a lot of people in my family who are into, like, all this mystical shite, like, believing psychics, will go to healers, do tarot cards, like, into Reiki. I am, like, the complete and opposite end of the spectrum. I'm such a cynic about everything like that. Like,
yeah, me too.
I wouldn't mind going to a psychic just to experience what it is. Obviously, I wouldn't pay too much attention, but I kind of just see it as like kind of a cool magic trick.
Yeah, like my cousin's a fucking medium.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of feel like there's someone in everyone's family that's like really deep into this kind of shit.
Complete and utter whack job, like.
Yeah, but like one of the things that they didn't mention.
I really hope she doesn't listen to the podcast.
You're probably safe. One of the things that the article did point out, even though like I think vast majority of people will say like obviously, yeah, it's not really based off that, and in fact, but everyone knows their star sign. Like even though people say like, oh yeah, it is obviously debunked, and scientists basically say like, yeah, it has no scientific merit. Everybody knows their star sign, so it is ingrained into the culture in that way.
But I think everybody knows their star sign because inevitably you come up with somebody. Like it's only like if somebody comes up to you and it's like, "Ooh, what's your fucking star sign?" and you're like, "I don't know." They're going to tell you.
Yeah, you're going to be told. You're going to be like, "Oh." Like sometimes I now know off the top of my hand because obviously I'm around people who talk about it a lot. But like before, like a few months before they got really into it, like I'd have to think. I used to know the symbol. I used to know it was the horse with the arrow, and that's how I knew. I don't even know. I take it as a Scorpio is a scorpion. I imagine that one's self-explanatory. Like, if it's a beetle, I'll be like, what? It's actually a fish. So but like I guess it's you're not really hurting anybody by believing it. It's all good fun, I guess, and people do find a bit of comfort in it. Now obviously their belief system is turned on its head, but guess what? We're living in a very strange time. Everything's turned on its head.
Up is down and down is up.
Talking about something turned on somebody's head, you have a story about a dildo and a head. What a great segue.
Good segue, Mark.
Do you want to go into a little bit more detail?
So, like, this guy, I can't remember where the fuck he lives, but he's in, like, a relationship with two girls. They're, like, fucking weird relationship thing going on.
Yeah, there is a name on these relationships.
Yeah, he wanted to play a joke on one of the girls. So the other girl had gotten a fucking delivery of a dildo in the post. So he took it with him to work, and when he went to meet the first girl, he stuck it to his head and went to meet her. He decided he wanted to be a unicorn, and so he stuck this thing to his head. And he says it was only there for about 30 seconds, and then he pulled it off, and it left a massive 2 inches in diameter bruise on his head that lasted 6 weeks, and he had to go back to work and explain to everybody what happened. And
do you know, he didn't actually have to explain that happened. Like, he could say, "Oh, I hit my head off something. I was playing baseball with my mates."
Yeah.
You don't have to say, "Oh yeah, well I was meeting this girl. I'm in a kind of a triangle style relationship, and I got one of my partners dildo and stuck onto my head to meet my other partner." It's just like you don't have to bring any of that up to your coworkers. It's none of their business.
Yeah, well,
I fell.
What's even stranger though is that since he shared his story online. Everybody in where he works, since he shared the story online, everybody that he works with now calls him Dickhead.
Yeah, but, that's I can see why.
He also found out that it's more common than you think.
Well, sticking dildos on your head.
Yeah, apparently, he's gotten loads of messages off guys saying, yeah, this exact same thing happened to me. And
did he stick it on with super glue or?
No, it was just a suction cup.
Oh, a suction cup, and he stuck on that hard that it bruised. Was it turned on by any chance?
I don't know what was going on with it.
Was it banging off his head creates bruise? Yeah, it seems kind of odd. Obviously, when you suction that area, it pushes the blood up. That's why you ever get a suction thing and stick it onto your arm or whatever, and leaves a red circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I imagine there's something to do with that, and obviously your head must be. It's not
Stayed there for 6 days.
6 days. He had like I just don't understand why he goes. Oh yeah, this what happened. I was meeting a girl. I decided to stick a dildo onto my head. Like, make something up. Your nose isn't going to grow. People aren't going to go, no, you're lying. You did something else. I was like, I ran into a door. I fell. That's all I would say. I fell.
Yeah, but that's not as cool of a story.
Yeah. He obviously is, basically, I'd say he just wanted to say, like, oh yeah, I'm banging these 2 girls, and one of them bought a dildo.
Stuck into my head.
Yeah, it seems kind of odd. I was kind of expecting, that episode of Simpson where Bart superglued the tap.
Yeah,
I was imagining when you were first talking about it, I thought it was going to be something similar to that, where he had to go into work with a dildo strapped to his head.
That would have been brilliant.
That would have been a little bit better. So the story was a slight disappointment, Ken. I'm going to say I was hoping for some story of some guy stuck to a dildo to his head.
Well, yeah. What can he do?
You can't personally stick it to his head, but you could stick it to your own.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Anyway, speaking of dickheads, Kanye West.
You're on fire today.
Yeah, firing out the segues. Kanye West is, in fact, in the process of running as an independent for president. We've talked about this before. We kind of mentioned that there's some people saying it's a bit of a conspiracy in order to get Donald Trump into power, so that like people who don't like Donald Trump and aren't fond of the guys who the Democrats are running, Biden? Might vote as protest for Kanye West instead of Joe Biden, because they might reckon that Joe Biden is slightly more liked than Donald Trump. And
well, in the opinion poll, he's a lot more liked. Yeah,
so throwing a spanner into the works as what Kanye West would be is, in fact, might make favor Donald Trump over Biden. However, it hasn't really went too well for him. He's been a bit lackadaisical. So far, he's only actually qualified to be on the ballot for Oklahoma. And he had till last Monday to qualify for South Carolina. South Carolina would be a pretty big district for him because it would have been seen as a real liberal spot. But there's would have been a huge base for him. Being like kind of South Carolina would have been near enough to LA. It would have been in South Carolina, so it would have been pretty big kind of voter base for him. So I don't think he actually got under a ballot for that. Now, I'm not too sure, but I think fans can still actually write his name onto the ballot paper in order to vote for him. So this doesn't necessarily mean that people in South Carolina can't actually vote for him. They just have to write his name down on the ballot paper, and then he'll be in with a chance. I think it might work like that. Basically, even though he's not technically he qualified for South Carolina, he still held a kind of a rally for invited guests that had to obey kind of obviously social distancing and face coverings, where he talked about slavery and abortions, the hard-hitting questions of today. And basically, he's kind of in the kind of press thing. Right? He kind of went on a bit of a rant about abortion, saying his dad wanted to have him aborted. And this kind of got him emotional, and he started crying. Then he went on to say, by the way, while he was doing this, he's wearing a stab-proof vest or some kind of, I think it might be in one of those weight vests that you see crossed. He's wearing something that looked like a bulletproof vest of some sort.
I was going to point that out.
Yeah, as well. Anyway, he started to talk about him. He at first wanted Kim to get, not to have their first child. I think his first child is called West, and it's like Northwest kind of thing, I think. And he's obviously decided against it because he was working on his side projects and his screen went blank on his laptop, and he took that as a sign from God that if you mess with his vision, he's going to mess with yours. And he rang Kim and said, "We're having the kid." He probably just didn't have his laptop plugged in and the battery died.
I hope that actually went down exactly like you just described it.
Well, this is how he was describing it in his press briefing. So, when it comes to abortions, right, he doesn't want to make them illegal. He's not against abortions. However, he's pro-life. He wants to give people $1 million for having a child. So every child that people in America don't abort, they get 1 million quid.
What?
Yeah, so he's like, oh, I don't know, something like $1 million quid. He wants to give people for not aborting their child. So I did a bit of research in this. Average of like American kids that are born every year is about a 30-year low, and for the vastness of America, it's very, very low. Like 3.8 million people is nothing. Like their population is going to shrink quite bad. So maybe you need to give people a bit of money in order to get them fertilizing again. But that would work out about $3.8 billion every year to give to new parents.
That's a bit ridiculous.
That is very much ridiculous. People would be having kids for a crack and just leaving them in parks at that stage. Be like, give me my £1 million.
That's just mental.
Yeah, 3.8 billion. I thought that was insane. And that's if the number stayed at a 30-year low of 3.8. I imagine if you were given £1 million for having a child, there'd be a lot more children being had.
Oh, definitely. Like, you'd have people that would just quit their jobs and have a kid every year.
Yeah, and then just put it for adoption.
Nobody'd want to adopt.
Yeah, I know, but like it's also then who's going to pay for this? Basically, £1 million, £1 million per person.
Like, it's just nuts.
Yeah, it's insane. He then went on to criticize Harriet Tubman, who basically freed slaves back in the 1800s, saying that she didn't actually free slaves. In fact, she just allowed them to go work for other white people. So she was a slave herself, and using kind of underground railroad, she freed 300 slaves in her lifetime and had a bounty that would, I think it was $40,000 back then. So the equivalent of like a 12 million bounty on her head.
Jesus.
Yeah, so like she basically, for people who are in like Black Lives Matter, she would be like a huge figure, and this kind of turned the crowd against him basically on this. So his campaign didn't go off to, like, if you say, a very rocky start, considering that one, he didn't actually qualify for South Carolina, and two, he pissed off a lot of black voters by saying that basically she didn't actually free slaves, she just allowed them to go work for other white people.
Great start.
Great start. What do you make of Kanye West going for president? Like, do you think this is just like a publicity stunt for him? Maybe he brings out a new record? Or do you think like we could see him being taken a little bit more seriously as this gets closer to election time?
I don't know if he brings out a new record, but like I think it's a bit nonsense. Like,
I know he said he wants Jay-Z to be his vice president. And we also talked about Elon Musk is backing him to be president as well.
Yeah, like, Elon Musk he took back his thing. He's like, nah, fuck him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think he's just being a troll. Like, Elon Musk is just a giant troll. He's like, yeah, I want Kanye West to be president. I'll vote for him. And then he's just like, no, that was a joke. What are you talking about?
Yeah, there was some sort of a falling out there, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you know what it was over? Or?
No, I can't remember. I read about it and then I just kind of forgot about it.
Then I realised I don't like Kanye West or Elon Musk.
Yeah, like Elon Musk's a bit of a tool as well.
Oh, I get great mileage out of Elon Musk, has to be said.
Oh yeah, you get great mileage out of him, but he's a fucking idiot.
He says ridiculous things now, in fairness. Yeah, because I don't know like if we can yet take Kanye West serious. It is just bizarre that like this celebrity, and a lot of people have said the only person that will beat Donald Trump is another celebrity.
Yeah,
like it's a bit of a shambles. Like, if you look at the population of America and the vastness of like the amount of multi-millionaires there are, amount of like really like innovative people there are in America, many of the people that have achieved so much, and the two people running to be president of America are Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Like it says, like it's a huge kind of disgrace to like the US political system. Like they don't really have, like there's no one in the Republican Party and there's no one in the Democratic Party. They kind of look to it and go, yes, they would make a great president, or they're the man or woman for the job.
You see, Republicans won't run anybody else. Once the sitting president is there and he wants to run, they can't run anybody else.
Yeah, but even if Donald Trump wasn't running, like who is there? Who else is there? Like who'd step up that you go, oh yeah, they'd make a good president.
They'd come up with somebody like.
Yeah, no, they come up with somebody. But like people are saying like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson like should run for, or like there's people saying Joe Rogan should run. There's people like when you're going on into the celebrities saying, oh, we should get like you just know there's something wrong with your culture overall.
Like, if you lived in America, you'd probably know somebody, you'd probably have a feeling of somebody who should run.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Like, we don't really know. Like, over here, you only kind of know the big, like, international American politicians. You don't know.
Yeah, Bernie Ecclestone? No, that's the Formula 1 guy.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders, yeah. Bernie Sanders is the other one that people turn to, but he wants to like have a 90% tax on people who earn over a certain amount of money. Imagine charging someone 90% of their wages.
Yeah.
I think it's like people who earn like over 100 million. I think Bernie might be like on paper would do a lot for America in terms of, but like even still, like getting any of his legislation passed will be extremely hard. So like, yeah, well, I guess we don't really know too much about US politics, and we're not really in our lane. So we might as well switch back to a lane that we are more comfortable in, and this is of embarrassing parcels. Now, Ken, have you ever ordered online that maybe you didn't want your parents knowing your order, or something that you'd be a little bit embarrassed about if people found out about you buying?
No, I don't really order things online.
Yeah, generally I would order a lot of things online. Now, I wouldn't order anything embarrassing for this reason, what we're going to go into. But I remember one time talking to one of my friends, and I think he said he used to buy condoms online. He used to get them delivered to his house when he still lived at home. Well, he just said, like, save them going into the shop. You can just buy them offline and buy a box of them, or buy a few boxes. They're cheaper to buy online. And, yeah, I think that was the reason. And he just said, you kind of know when they're going to come. So you just kind of hover around the door until the post comes. And generally it won't say on it. Generally it'll just have, like, something else on it. So, yeah, that's what he used to do. Now, the next girl that we're going to talk about wasn't as lucky. Her name is Chloe, and she's 21, and she's on Warrington, and she last week ordered an adult toy for about £15 off Amazon, and days later it arrived to her door, and the person, her delivery or postman, I guess, had a bit of a cheeky grin on his face. So she knew something was obviously up, and she's kind of getting a little bit nervous why he was smiling so much. Now, when she was ordering this online, it did say discreet packaging, that it wouldn't be obviously have its name plastered all over it. Now, right beside the barcode, which like the delivery driver has to scan in order to check off his list, it had Satisfier Clitoris Sucker Next Generation.
Next generation.
The next generation. So this would make matters worse. This was her regular postie. This was her postman that delivered her regular mail. So I kind of feel like everyone knows at least what their postman looks like.
Yeah.
I know my nan is it's quite friendly with her postman. I think they're neighbours as well as that. So like they she's on first name basis with her postman, and I think even my sister said she would get delivered stuff to work, and it would be the same postman that delivered us. And you're from. So they do know people. They do obviously get to know people on the routes and where they live. It's kind of like that episode of Simpsons where they're like, you're the postman, so you know where I live, so there's no point running. And he goes, yes, I'm going to do it anyway. So it's a bit kind of like that. So she was like really red faced, and for the next few days, anytime she had anything to deliver, she couldn't look him in the eye because she felt so embarrassed. Now, obviously, something like this, you'd want to ground. I'd probably move personally. Probably just change house. I'd probably like, I'm leaving. We're packing up our bags, and we're going somewhere else. We're gonna move country.
Yeah, we're out of here.
We're over here, and not explain to anybody why we were leaving. She felt so embarrassed about this. However, I don't know. Was you giving this interview to? I think it was Union Lad about how embarrassed she was, but I don't know. In fact, how embarrassed she was. So, like after her friends hearing about what had happened, they actually kind of got interested themselves and decided, or asking her questions about like, oh, is it any good? And basically the company sold quite a few off the back of this. And the reason why they sold quite a few off the back of this is because she apparently put it up on a Facebook story. So like, I don't know if obviously that was embarrassing of obviously hearing that, like your postman seeing that you got the Satisfier clitoris sucker next generation, the new model apparently. But then to do that and then put that up on your Facebook, like your whole entire family are going to see your story, surely. Basically what has happened is you just had a lot of girls come to her asking, oh, was that any good? Or what she thought of herself. So she apparently just came and endorsed her for this clear sucker next generation thing. So maybe she got in touch with the company. They might send her out. Now, obviously, Amazon did apologise and said they're investigating why the name was on the parcel. But this got me thinking, like, surely there has been other embarrassing situations that happen. I know, like, my life's just one big mess of embarrassing situations after one another. There has to be more embarrassing situations out there. So I scanned the internet for a few kind of stories that kind of mirrored a similar kind of embarrassment that Chloe would have faced. The first embarrassing encounter that I found was kind of, if anybody works in a building where there's an office building or in a factory, or where people kind of get, you would know everybody in the building. This is probably one of the most kind of embarrassing things. You kind of dread this moment if this ever happened to you. So there's this guy matched with a girl he worked in the same building with on Tinder, and basically he'd never seen her before around the building, so he got kind of curious and started to ask people that he worked with had they seen her, but they really hadn't. No one seemed to know who she was. So a few days went by and he gets like a message off her on the app saying that she was pissed off for him showing everyone at work her Tinder profile. And apparently when he was at lunch telling people, asking them, have they ever seen her, she was sitting right next to him and could hear him chat about her and show his friends her Tinder profile. In fairness, he did try to make over. He did ask her out, but obviously she didn't reply after that. She was quite a bit pissed off. But like, if you work in an office at all, I imagine that's like your biggest nightmare is either matching a person that you work with and either them showing everyone your Tinder profile, or you actually accidentally like showing someone in work their Tinder profile and you getting caught out.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, so that's like, yeah, that's that like everyone's worst nightmare right there. So next one is one that like maybe some girls can relate to, and this is a girl who was walking with her friends from college. They were going to a parking lot and they had to pass a building site, and a few of the workers start catcalling them, whistling and chanting at them, and this got her really, really angry. So she was so upset, she tried to flee, like, or drive out really aggressively out of the car park, only to drive straight into a tree in the middle of the car parking lot, where obviously all the builders could see her. So obviously, girls like being catcalled. You're probably a huge annoyance to a lot of girls. And obviously the worst thing you want to do is then crash in front of all of them.
That's brilliant though.
Yeah, I think the next one is like I kind of feel like I kind of seems like this could be me basically.
Oh no!
It's this guy was in the park and basically heard a woman call out, "Who wants ice cream?" Seen a few people walk over, so walked over. When he got to the woman, she said, "Who are you?" Obviously, she was obviously having a picnic or a party. And it was like asking anybody in her group who wanted ice cream, and not just openly asking people who wanted free ice cream. But my final story for embarrassing situations, and maybe if our listeners have any of their own embarrassing situations, we could revisit this and we'll read out a few of your embarrassing. Obviously, we'll keep you as your identity sealed, and you'll be anonymous. And if you want to, you can email into shitalkpodcastshow@gmail.com or just message us on either Facebook or Instagram or even Twitter. And yeah, send us in your embarrassing stories. But our next one is, do you know what? I don't think it's this, obviously this like you would kind of want to kind of open up and swallow you whole, but it's also quite a really lovely story as well. So right, this is happening in Corfu. A guy was on holidays, and a nice day, he tried to take a walk around the big square that are in these like major cities. He came across this lovely table, sat down, had a few beers, and when he went up to pay, the said, "Oh no, this is my home. You're welcome. You no need to pay." So he was sitting there for a few hours ordering beers off this girl who just obviously was her house. He obviously had beers in her house, and she didn't actually say anything. She just handed him out beers. He was like, "Oh, this is great. This is a lovely restaurant." Went to pay, and like obviously she was like, "Oh no, this is my house. You're welcome." I'd be like, "Oh, you're really nice, but oh my god."
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a lovely story because obviously your woman was very nice to like just hand him out beers until just feed him beer until like whenever he left her house. So I thought that was really funny. Also, which was I thought was really striking, is the next story about Boris Johnson. This might be a bit embarrassing for him if you actually read back over a previous interview. And this,
or if he listens to the podcast.
Or he's listening to the podcast. This is an article that I got from Union Lad. Now, they kind of were misquoted sort of Boris Johnson on this. So the article that I read was, Boris Johnson says that he loves fox hunting in a semi-sexual way. So that's the article that I read and I clicked into. And basically, they kind of misrepresented Boris kind of. This was an interview that was taken from, I think it was Spectre magazine back in 2005 when Boris Johnson was MP. Around this time, the Labour Party were in power and they had just made fox hunting illegal. So Boris didn't necessarily say he was semi-turned on by fox hunting, because that would be fucking weird. But he didn't. He said he had feelings towards, in a very weird but kind of sexual way, towards animals.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so I'll go into it a little bit. So back in 2005, like I said, when the hunting ban came in, Boris Johnson was openly telling fox hunters to go out, ignore the Labour government ruling on making fox hunting illegal. And at the time, he was not only did this interview for Spectre, but he was also the editor. So he would have actually been the person to look over his own interview, and he could have taken stuff out of it after reading over a second time if he thought maybe not.
Maybe don't do that. Yeah.
Maybe not stick this into it. So in the interview, he said he loved fox hunting while comparing it to a military-style pleasure of hunting. He also described comparing it to skiing. He said, because you're going through a landscape at speed. Then he added into the interview, there's an interest that has a weird semi-sexual relationship with the horse, in which you have the illusion of understanding and control. So no, he doesn't find fox hunting sexual. He finds riding a horse sexual.
That's so much better.
It's so much better. And yeah. And which, like like I imagine if you're an editor and you're like reading over that, you would go, Barris, maybe like not say that you're sexually attracted to riding a horse. It's kind of weird to say that you're sexually aroused by riding a horse. But now he said he doesn't even go out on hunts that often. He said he'd done it before, but he wouldn't be one going out on a Saturday evening on a fox hunt, or in fact going out and protesting. So you imagine like him being an MP. I think he at the time was trying to run or was mayor for London around that same time.
Yeah.
So he maybe like obviously this was maybe a call on his kind of upper middle class kind of voter base, and was trying to just kind of get in support or kind of solidify support that he would have had in kind of the upper class English society. But even still, that means like even if he wasn't a fox hunter, he's basically just describing people who are into fox hunting as kind of having a semi-sexual relationship with a horse.
Yeah, it's like I don't even know what to say to that.
Like it's like imagine if you were into hunting and you went on the hunts and you're reading that, you're going like, I'm not really into hunting in that way. It's kind of like killing animals. It makes me feel big about myself. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
Yeah, but even still, if you were into that and you're reading that, and you're like, I don't think Boris Johnson gets that we're not sexually attracted. Maybe there are. Maybe there's a voter base in England where they are sexually attracted to foxes or
it's
to
possible.
horses. Yeah, there's weirder things happen in the world. But I thought it was just like, obviously it's going to be probably an interview that will come back to haunt Boris for many of years.
Oh, definitely.
Especially when it appears on Lad's Bible saying that he's semi-attracted to fox hunting.
Yeah, he's going to definitely regret saying that.
He's kind of passed most of his career as kind of like, oh, I'm a little bit daft, a little bit goofy, kind of like I'm one of you common people, but I also talk in a very kind of upper class posh way.
Yeah.
You have a story that I seen when I was doing my research, but I kind of passed on it, and it's about a Tesla.
Yeah, it's there's not really much to it. Like it's just
good because we're nearly out of time for the show.
It's just like a guy at a petrol station, and he gets out of a car to refuel it, and turns out it's a Tesla, and he just walks around the car with the petrol nozzle before realizing that it's entirely electric.
There's no actual anywhere to put petrol into the car. Was this in England or was it in the United States?
States, I think.
Yeah, because I remember we shared a video of a girl trying to park her car. It was an Aussie Man review of a girl in America trying to park her car, and she kept mixing up the side of which side of her pump was on. So she arrives to a pump and the nozzle, the hole for where you put your fuel into it was on the opposite side. So it should have been just turn the car around and there you go. Everyone's done that at least once in their life. She drove on the opposite side, so the hole was still on the wrong side, and she did this about 3 times before she realised her big mistake and was able to successfully fill up her car with fuel. And I thought that was quite funny. That was like an average, like maybe mid 8,000 Jeep. Like it wasn't that much. A Tesla is about $100,000. Like you wonder how a person gets to the point in life where they can afford a $100,000 car and not know that it's electric.
Yeah, like it's, but then, it could just be like daddy's money and daddy's car.
Yeah, it wouldn't really make too much sense. Like a person who was able to get to a point in their life where they could afford a $100,000 car or a $100,000 car. You could siphon off your money 100,000 for a Tesla without it actually without it costing you a huge loan that you it's more money than your house, and not realize how to fill up. You'd imagine that either it was handed by daddy or he's just a really really thick. Maybe he was high. If it wasn't American, maybe. But yeah, I thought that was really really funny. But surely if you're driving around Teslas, they don't make car noises because they're obviously electric.
Again, let's look at Americans.
I was amazed by the fact that Like it is such an expensive car to like how a person who owned one could be that dumb. Now, in fairness, it could be bought for them by people necessarily who drive them would know a whole lot about them.
But like, you do have to remember that, like, if you're able to spend 100,000 on a car, chances are that's like just buying like a fucking normal car to anybody else.
Yeah, no, it's all relative, but in terms of like,
So like, you're probably not going to really like take any better care of a car that's worth 100 grand than you are of a car
that's worth 30 or 20 or 10 or 5. Yeah, that is very true. But you just imagine it, like, it is a miracle how a person can't realize that they're driving an electric car, but can like spend that money on 100,000 car.
Yeah.
Surely that person deserves to be packing shelves. But like, yeah, that's it's kind of strange. Even though you're one who like couldn't find the nozzle, surely. She was just having an off day. Maybe she was distracted with other things at home. Maybe there was a bill she had a fight, or she was like contemplating like what way she could get home. But like the mix up the whole that you put fuel into like 3 times.
Like, how often would you put fuel into a fucking? Yeah, maybe she's not the one that puts the fuel into the car. Maybe your husband does it.
I imagine someone normally does it for her. Yeah. It could have been just like he was at work, maybe he got the bus to work or left it quite kind of low, and she had to do it herself.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah,
now like obviously it has happened to people where you drive up to a pump and you realize, oh, what side is on? You get it wrong. Generally, like, it will stretch you around. That's the other thing. All you have to do is like, if you don't go into the effort of moving your car, just pull it forward to the back where the pump is, like the hose is at the back of your car, and you can just get it around and just make sure it doesn't scratch off the paint.
Yeah, like, have you ever gone to the wrong side of the car?
Yeah, I have. But like generally, if it's an older car, or I'll stretch it around, or if I need to, I'll just like switch the car around. Like, it's no big deal.
It's like that scene. Do you ever watch The In-Betweeners? Like the scene in The In-Betweeners where Simon's trying to fuel up the car, and your one inside is like, "Please pull closer to the pumps."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No."
Yeah. Have ever happened to you with when you're driving, or have you ever put on the wrong fuel into a car?
I've never put the wrong fuel into a car.
Yeah, no, that is my one big fear. I remember there was a guy that I heard about. He was called Tim, and he did it so many times that he got the nickname Tim but Dim. Now, in fairness to him, he did actually realize his mistake. What he did was, after filling up I think it was a van with petrol, he realized that he put petrol into it. So just pushed the van over and then rang the boss to get the van pumped. Obviously, if you turn the engine, you fuck up all the pistons. Did this twice.
Is Tim's name changed to protect his identity?
I'm going to say yes, but it wasn't really. I probably should have changed his name, come to think of it, and I probably should have gone yes after you said that, but no. No, it wasn't.
Tim wasn't you by any chance?
No, Tim. This wasn't a Mark thing.
For once.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, but there's I think there's loads of stories of people just like abandoning work vehicles. And I remember another lad, while we're on the topic, one of my friends, girl I used to know anyway, she said her dad got a call early one morning after giving one of his workers directions, and he told him to go straight through the roundabout. So he took that literally and tried to go straight through a roundabout and got stuck on the middle of the
roundabout. How do you even do that?
I don't know. He must have like, you can go over a roundabout. What a country!
Straight through the roundabout.
He gets stuck. What is this? Why am I stuck?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so I think that's a good way to leave the show with impersonating, obviously, some Middle Eastern European.
Don't give them a location.
It's somewhere like east of here. What's the accent?
Impersonating someone.
Yeah, that's just what they sound, I presume. Anyway, that's our show for today. We'll be back next Thursday. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, so that they get notifications, and so do you, about when we release new content onto the world.
Yeah.
We'll be back next Thursday. Talk to you then.
See you later.
Shut up and sit down.